I haven't talked to him. I was gone before the bus got home.
Man, my daughter can sleep through any alarm, like literally blaring by her head.
Yeah, my son.
Oh, I can do that
I
too.
have to
That's
call
why I don't have them. I'm not allowed to have an alarm clock.
I can't do that. I do wake up.
Nick has is like the radio and it's on like a station that's static and it's the lowest volume possible. And that's his alarm. And I'm not allowed to have one because I have to put it across the room as loud as possible because I have to physically get up to turn it off because I will turn it off in my sleep.
Okay. And I would say with me, 90% of the time, I'm up 10, 15 minutes before my alarm goes off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't use an alarm.
I
just wake up when I need, like, I'm still up and at work before 8 every morning and we've been slowly training back though because.
All right, nobody has joined, so, okay, well, thanks everybody for coming. Hope you had a great holiday, and can I get a second to adopt agenda?
Second.
Okay. All right, let's start off with Jose.
Did you start recording already?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
recording. So celebration website. So I did send Bill and Krista some updates. Good news is that the backups are happening every day. We can do the updates ourselves.
Okay.
So that's the good news. At no harm to breaking our relationship with the vendor. So,
I noticed they were done.
yeah, they were done,
Yeah,
and
like-
there were 3 left this morning, and I did them.
Okay.
I just checked in with them first to make sure that the backups were completed.
Cool.
They did give me a list of some plugins that can be deactivated. There were only 4. The other ones I put in on a spreadsheet for us to review. So he's got to give me dates and times. We'll review them, and then at that point we'll figure out what the alternative solution is, and work on it, and then remove the plugin if it's not necessary. So it's going to be a little bit of a legwork because I'm not that well versed in that area, but you guys are. So
And
I'm
some,
excited.
some plugins are required. Like, I mean, there won't be no plugins. It was the number of them was a little large.
Excessive, yeah.
So
that's pretty much it with the website. So we're making headway with that. I do want to add something. I am looking at a product that I've used in the past that will allow me to take the ARC forms and make them electronically fillable. In order to do that, though, I need to create a link right next to the existing document so they have an option. The first option would be to download the file and they can fill it out themselves, scan it and email it or bring it in person. Or the second option is they click on the link to fill out the electronic fillable and it routes to the Town Hall Sarah Mill email address. And that individual who's responsible will get it filled out and ready to go.
Would that tie into owner eventually?
It will. It will. So it's really
I
something.
mean, we talked about this a little bit before. I think the biggest thing with ARC and covenants is communication. And I think so many residents just feel like they get letters. If you try to call here, it's almost impossible to get through. And I forgot her name, who's in charge of the violations. She won't speak to you directly. I bypassed him and gone to Lauren, and Lauren's been fantastic assisting with escalations. So I think if possible, that could be on a website and through owner, and people just get immediate feedback would be, I mean, tremendous, especially since that last information went out that people were not trained and blah, blah, blah. So I heard a bunch of feedback about that people that are actually going out doing the inspections on homes are not well trained. And again, so I think the more communication around that stuff, people would feel a lot more comfortable to know what's going on, what the status is, what they even, like I've been told before, to get a little tangent here, but like replaced a tree in your yard because it wasn't there when I bought the house, but there's a little teeny stump. So I write back, all right, what tree should I put there? And crickets, you never hear nothing back. Right. So I mean, little things like that, people would be very appreciative of. Because yes, we want to follow covenant, but we also want to know what that means. Besides, I'm getting a violation, I'm going to get fined.
Right.
So as long as we know what the process is too,
Right.
because like our last ARC interaction was my husband showed up to the meeting when it was supposed to be discussed, but we weren't listed. And they're like, anyone who's not
Yeah.
listed,
So
do they want to talk? And he's like, me, and they're like, oh, well, you submitted electronically. We don't discuss that here.
from a
So
from a technology perspective, what I've done was I've created training modules, same way we created the videos for GoGov.
Yeah.
And we went over the governing documents and we broke them down into sections so that they become familiar with the governing documents, because a lot of that information is in the governing documents.
Yeah.
Right?
I
and
mean
there's-
more of the process
no, and there's-
once you've submitted what it happens
there's a
after that,
workflow
not
issue.
to the home.
Yeah.
and the issue here is the workflow, like what's the next step, right? And now I have to redesign it in a way where I can say, okay, when a ARC request is submitted and it gets approved, this is what the process should look like, and this is where your cutoff point is. If it has to go to covenants because whatever they did wasn't approved and they did it anyways, then this is how you route this. And it's really putting everything in a diagram, creating a workflow, and creating a Q&A, like this is how you respond to these issues. Some of it is not going to be all technology based. It's going to be based on the experience, right?
Right.
So,
But technology can help that.
but technology will facilitate some of it, but it's really going to be about the user experience at the end of the day.
So what's the software that so it's instead of it being a fillable PDF, that's not what you're talking about. You're
No, it's
talking
not.
about an actual,
It's an embed,
Form.
basically.
what is the tool for that? Because that's gonna add another tool to this
So
site that we need to,
it's not a plugin.
yeah.
It's a literal link that
Yeah, but
routes.
what, it's still, you're creating it with something. What's the
Oh,
tool?
so I have a couple of them actually that I'm testing out.
Okay.
I have PandaDoc, I
Mhm.
have Blue Ink. I tried DocuSign, but their price is crazy, right?
I think it'd be worth looking for us to like figure out which ones you want to look at, and then it'd be worth for us to look
The
at
ones
just
that I'm
from a
interested in?
security perspective and all of that, because we are sending like homeowner
So in
information.
terms of like security and compliance, I would say PandaDoc, Blue Ink, and DocuSign are the top three. Adobe, Adobe does it as
Adobe.
well.
Job
but-
form.
That's the issue. So the two most expensive ones are gonna be DocuSign and Adobe.
Yeah.
Blue Ink will be the cheapest because they're up and coming, but they have a lot of bells and whistles.
But I think it's worth reviewing and understanding what it is, because we are adding another tool to our suite, and it's another thing that needs to be maintained because, if Grand Manners is here for the next round of contracts, you're gonna keep doing it. If you're, you win the lotto, you're not here anymore. We're adding another, we're adding another tool to the suite.
Right,
So
right.
let's just make sure we understand what that means from an integration and a maintenance and all of those things as we start talking about adding software.
Gotcha.
I mean, even some of the simplest, I think from the communications, we just said, make the PDFs fillable so that I can like type in my information, print it and bring it.
That was a lot of fun filling out the candidate. form.
Yeah.
Talk about that.
Well, even asking a specific question, I'll give you
Yeah.
a good example. I mean, I don't know if you guys have read any of the covenant forms. Jared, have you read any of the covenant form? I mean, recently somebody talked to me about gutters, and I pulled up the gutter covenant. It's like 6 pages for the gutters. I mean, you need to be a lawyer to understand if you're doing it right or wrong with that document, right? So it's understandable someone's gonna ask a question specific, because they spend thousands of dollars, $5,000-6,000 to get gutters. You want to make sure it meets, even though you get approval for it, the contractor could still, right? So just those communications, again, I love it. So if form does make that, I think the residents would go bananas over it.
Oh, yeah. I'm all for like
Yeah.
simplifying the form filling out, because I have Adobe, so I make the forms fillable for myself. I
Right.
type it out and then I
Yeah.
email it in, but I'm all for that. It's more just, I want to make sure before we introduce another
Yep.
application to the suite of tools that we know what we're adding and we understand what that's going to mean from a maintenance, et cetera, et cetera.
Gotcha. So I'll make sure I'll send you all the information, and if you, whenever you guys want to meet up, we'll just go over it.
I got another DocuSign thing for you. It's free.
Which one?
Rabbit sign,
Okay.
done by a high school student, works on top of Cloudflare for free,
For free?
and it's HIPAA compliant.
It's HIPAA compliant?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
So Brett, we're talking about forms on the website for our covenant relating.
I'm not here to interject, and I'm doing exactly what I hate. But I want to say, if you do that form, make sure the resident gets a copy of it, because if they send it and it just goes in, then there's an argument that board has to sit here and hear about how they sent it and they never got confirmation, and how are they supposed to know, and all of that.
Yep.
So what would happen is when you designed the form, or not design the form, but you take the existing form and then you give it an instruction, CC the sender.
Yeah.
Once it's filled out, that's what will happen, so. Yeah, but I'll look at RabbitSign.
The other thing I asked you once before, now we got the new year, I would love to see some stats from the website. How many hits are on it? Any feedback we're getting, negative or positive on it? Because it's I think if we can get feedback that way, rather than people coming up to us at the board meeting saying, I looked for the minutes for this and this and I can't find it, or so it's just.
Okay.
Have
I'll
you set
get
up
you this.
Google Analytics on there?
I haven't checked, to be quite frank, I haven't checked, but I'll check it and see.
Because again, when we're doing our monthly meeting, I'd love to get up with you and present, listen, we had 10,000 hits like Tom did with the Chargers. We had 10,000 hits. Positive feedback. We had some questions here. They're quickly addressed. I mean, all that information is just fantastic.
So we'll get on.
The work that you did on the communication side,
Mhm.
where did that land for the website? Was that just done and sitting somewhere?
No, so. You're talking about the,
Stuff for the communications didn't get done.
Okay.
We submitted the report and it went out into the
Ether,
ether for someone to execute on.
oh,
so that I have,
you have it.
I have it now, so, I have to work on.
I mean, there's a lot. It's not more, it's more than just you because it's all.
No, no,
it's-
so
Yeah, it's.
I can only address the technology components of it, but it's gonna end up being me, Liz, and a couple of other individuals that have to address.
Anything more on the website?
Thank you.
Alright, so EV charging, so the contracts were signed. We're removing the level 2 chargers at Lakeside, but keeping the we're keeping the fast chargers. And then we're negotiating the contract with Nova Charge for the 3 years. So the only issue was that the individual we worked with is no longer working there, so we have a new
Yeah.
person, so.
Is
Awesome.
it possible with Tom's idea to get like a regular outlet in one of those 4 spots for like NEV charging?
I don't know if Duke Energy will it's possible, but I don't know if Duke Energy will do it for free.
Yeah.
I don't know if Duke Energy is gonna do it for free, though.
No, maintenance would have to do it. Power's already there.
I mean,
It'd be
it's-
electrician. It wouldn't be an
Okay.
energy company.
Was that, how would we propose that? Would that be something you have to come back to Lauren, or is it be a board request, or?
Yeah, we're gonna have to present that. So that's not gonna be cheap. Because if.
That's what I think. Tom thinks it's a couple $100.
I don't, I'm.
It's
not-
it's not a couple of $100 bucks.
It's, nothing's a couple $100 to the electric.
Yeah.
Not even McDonald's sometimes.
I agree with that. It's not gonna be a couple $100. But at worst case, they'll have to pull a neutral wire. We have 208 there
Mhm.
because the chargers run on 208. So there may or may not be a neutral wire. If they pull one, it's in a conduit. And the guy's gonna have to pull a white wire through a tube and connect it. And then we have to put an outlet there. It would really be nothing more than that. Now, how much we're gonna pay for that? Well, this is us. We'll probably pay a lot. If it was me doing it, we'd be paying a lot less. I mean, I'm not for hire, but I'm just saying, this is not high tech.
Mhm.
No, it is.
So all I can say is I don't know if we have an electrician on staff. If we do,
We have a vendor that we do all our electricity.
Okay. maybe in from our course, I don't know.
It's worth getting a quote.
Yeah, we should get a quote. You got power right there. Wouldn't it be a shame to pull the 2 pedestals out and then bury or pull out? You can't abandon wires, so they would have to pull them up. It's gonna cost us a lot more to pull them out.
Somebody's gonna come up with their Tesla mobile charger, 115 and plug in.
It's gonna be,
Yeah.
it's gonna. 5,000 or 10,000, whatever the RFP limit is. It'll be less than that. So let's get a quote and see what we're talking and then we can go from there.
And now,
How are we building for the monthly on that? So someone comes up and plug in their nav or what have you, or someone set it there, put their mobile Tesla charger. How's that? Who's paying that bill?
Grow is paying it.
Okay.
maybe that's a reason enough not to do.
This would fall under the category of it being an amenity. If you have a NEV, you could park there and you can charge.
You know, they'd be a resident because it'd be a.
You can pull into the Artisan Park parking lot right now and you can charge it at, there's 2 different locations and they don't bill the resident.
It's just
Who
the
pays for it?
regular outlet.
Yeah.
All right, so-
Stick.
So since Garrett's here and he brought it up into me, I'm gonna ask, would that be something that you would entertain, interested in? Think it's a stupid idea?
Me,
Yes.
I like that idea and I would entertain that idea.
Okay.
Keep in mind, your liaison specifically wants parking spots back. And that's what this is about.
Yeah.
This isn't about.
But
charging.
she asked for 2, we asked for 2 spots, and now we have 4. So if one just had enough there, well, there's only one outlet, one
Wait.
plug, it only one spot.
She drives a nav. She'll be all for it.
Well, this would give 4.
Right, 4 spots and only one regular outlet for one net.
Yeah, because there's two per pedestal.
Now, remember, the NEV only charges about 4, maybe a mile or 2 an hour. Or 110. I mean,
And I agree, the cost of the electricity is negligible.
No.
13 cents a
16
kilowatt.
Kilowatt hour on that particular meter.
Right,
We'll
So-
make that money up on the chargers, the real chargers.
correct.
Well,
Be a wash.
I have questions when we get to it about what's gonna happen to the real chargers. What the terms of the contract are. I would just preface it by saying this is already water over the dam, so I'm not trying to undo anything. But in the past 3 years, we've had 8,000 charging sessions, 8,000. That's how many. At Lakeside, 68% of the charging sessions were done on the fast chargers. That means 32%, if my math is correct, were done on the others at Lakeside. All this data is in our Teams folder. Anybody can take a look at it. Go take a look at it. It's not hidden data. So we're running about over 400 charging sessions per month at Lakeside Park, over 400. We had 458 in November charging sessions. Now, I don't know if you consider that a lot or not very many, but that's more than 10 people per day pulling in the charge, right? So people use chargers, and as I said last month from New Jersey, electric vehicles are going to be here for a little while. It may not be the final solution, but they're not in the short term going away. So I'm sad to see the level 2 chargers disappear. I don't have an electric vehicle, so I don't have a vested interest in this. I just, as a technologist, who already was part of a company that made one mistake, I hate to see us make another one. But the level 2 chargers are going away. I get it. The DC fast chargers, my question is, what are the terms, the original contract for the level 2? They wanted us to give them the chargers, and then if we wanted, at the end of the contract, we would have to buy them back.
So,
What came of that?
so we have to present a proposal to them. I believe Jeffrey Webb is gonna be the person working on that. Send a proposal to them and say that we wanna do the dollar buyback. As you suggested,
Yeah.
as the team suggested. So if we do that and they're okay with it, fine. It's still a 3-year
Yeah.
contract with them, so they'll own it for those 3 years, support it and maintain it.
For, wait, they're gonna do the maintenance for 3 years?
Yeah, so it's included in the 3-year package. So the level 2 and the fast chargers will be supported and maintained. And then whatever the cost is that whatever they consume in energy, they'll pay it to us quarterly. And then I believe it's every quarter, they'll give us a portion of
Yeah,
whatever profits.
10%.
they-
It was 10%,
Right.
but the way I read the contract, maybe there's a new, and I'm old, so I probably forgotten or have misinformation. However, that maintenance period was for 1 year. That is, they were gonna cover the cost of maintenance of the unit for 1 year. It was much cheaper for a 3-year contract, but it was still 1 year. And now we should go back and look at that. The question is, for those other 2 years, what's the exposure? If we can believe NovaCharge, who said that the last time they repaired the chargers was more than $4,000, then I'm feeling pretty nervous. Now, it turns out that NovaCharge, since they came under scrutiny, I should say BTC now, was the manufacturer of the chargers, we put them under a lot of pressure, right? We said, we're gonna go talk to Disney and say, hey, you guys, you might want to think about BTC before you put any more chargers over Disney. All of a sudden, 2 days later, a guy showed up and the chargers have not been down since. Isn't that a miracle? So our failure rate has dropped from 30% to 8% on people attempting to charge suddenly. My fear is that once we sign this contract, we're going to go back to having a 30% failure rate on these were on the DC chargers, by the way. The failure rate means a guy pulls in, he plugs in, he's got his money in his account, and he can't charge. That's what I call a failure.
Isn't the difference Duke owned them before? And now NovaCharge will actually own them?
Duke owned them before and NovaCharge supported them.
Right, but now NovaCharge will own them and have a bit more
Yeah.
bigger interest. Good now.
So to Tom's point, and Tom, thanks for raising that. What's the SLA? Something goes down. What's in the contract that says
So-
whatever event this is, they have to repair or get it up and running in X amount of hours or days?
So right now, there is no service level agreement because we're still in negotiations.
Needs to be in the contract. And may I, sorry to interject, but may I also suggest that before Grand Manners move forward and present the board with this contract, this group reviews that contract.
Good point. But again, Tom, I think.
And Jose, sorry, Jose, I'm gonna be vocal at the board meeting. If Grand Manners bring this contract to the board, I'll make sure and attend and to let them know that we didn't review it if we didn't, because too many contracts are slipping through us as a technology group that we're not getting scrutinized on, and you're just telling us verbatim. So I'm sorry to be a bit tough, but I'm seeing this more and more as a habit of Grand Manners.
Understood.
On the topic of the chargers, so when Nova Charge takes them over, are they still public chargers?
Yeah.
They're not, okay. And
They
then,
could be, or they could, I mean, it's our property.
Yeah.
The Duke agreement was that they are public and they have to be accessible from anyone.
okay.
That was the Duke agreement. But they do reside on private property.
Mhm.
Okay, if we don't change anything, they will still continue to be public. We could fence them off. I would suggest that we don't.
Mhm.
And allow the public to charge. Because people who visit the town need a place to
Yeah.
charge.
So then
That's a
the other
good-
question, I mean, that's just leading into my other question, because we talked about it briefly at the last meeting, so this is definitely something that I think should be something that we consider as part of master planning, and something that the technology committee should really provide a recommendation of how many chargers and like, maybe not the where. Maybe some criteria on where, but not like the exact locations, but like it should be in a place that's blah, blah, blah. And how many we would expect for a town of this size. And I think that's something that we need, and the master planning group's moving quickly, so we need to either start that conversation now, or we need to start that conversation now.
Yeah.
So understand, what does that look like? Because I assume that from a technology perspective, we would like to see it. Like, this is a major technology thing, and it is not going away. If anything, it's
don't know
gaining
if
more
we-
speed.
That's a great question. I wonder if Nova Charge or Duke will be able to give us information of specifically who's charging. Because you gotta imagine, if a lot of people at Business Celebration are tourists who have rented cars, so they're not electric. Right?
You can run electric cars.
How often? I don't know if that
I
happens.
don't know, I got offered a Tesla
You
last
can
time I was in
Did you?
Des Moines, or no, in
Last
Cedar
two
Rapids,
riddles.
Iowa. And I was-
But that's good to know when you're trying to,
Yeah.
when you're trying to, I just went to Miami for the weekend with my Tesla, and when I stopped to charge, they were packed. I mean, 17, they were all, they're pretty packed, but that information will just help with that, for the master plan, like who's visiting our town, and then you can tie that into, because Disney's always packed. I go to Disney, I try to charge, and they laugh at me when I go to the parking. They say we have 4 and they're always full.
So I'm just curious, is this the decision to pull out the level 2 chargers, which we discussed last month? Is that a done deal? Have we gone back and told them that this is?
Yeah, that's done and signed.
Okay, so the board has no input on something like that? Well, we're removing the level 2, 4 level 2 chargers out of Lakeside Park.
That
Would
was,
this be a big
that was
enough?
board directive.
Yeah, that was.
Oh, the board wanted them gone?
Yeah.
Okay, I missed that. Okay,
So, and with the recommendation,
Well, that's
we
good
don't
to
need
know.
to, yeah, we don't, with the recommendation, it doesn't need to be some super firmed up. It
Yeah.
could be like, we need to evaluate or, maybe the recommendation is, we think that with this many people, we should have X number of chargers per so many thousands of people, and would recommend further exploration of
Right.
that, because, I mean, trying to come up with in 30 days, this is what we should be, is not reasonable. It's more of like, here's the recommendation. We think they do need to exist. We think it's probably around this number. Put that in there. So that's where we as a group need to kind of help.
It was because of the parking. So that was the specific reason.
okay.
Don't we
So
have
that
the
would be-
chargers at town hall?
Yes.
Yes.
We have 2 ports. Well,
And
They
that's why-
so Tom, forgive me, are they highly utilized?
No. No, I mean, there's, in the Teams folder, you can see exactly how many times they're used. There's graphical data that goes back to T=0 for every month since the chargers were installed. I can tell you exactly how many times someone pulled up and used the chargers back there. But Town Hall and the dog park are like barely visible on the bottom of the chart. And then you got Lakeside, which is a monster, like way over 90% of the charging sessions. I'm gonna say 95% of the charging sessions are done at Lakeside.
Which makes sense, because that's where
Yeah.
all the businesses are.
Okay, so the board's already, that was a directive. Did you guys vote on that or? Yeah, did you? Okay,
And I've had numerous discussions with Greg Feel, like CCTD, about other options on their property to put chargers if they're open.
okay.
Once we finish our discussions with ours, and those are conversations, especially with the master plan.
Okay.
Can I ask one more question on this and then we'll put this to bed? From my perspective. So the charges they're pulling out, don't we own them?
No,
Yeah, we
Okay.
could.
Okay. No, no,
Duke, Duke, that was a question we had to answer. Do you want them? And we could have said yes, which we didn't, but if we had, we would have owned them, then what would we have done with them? We would have had to find a company to manage them, and there was only two choices, both had the same mother company. So really, the two choices were just one choice. So we,
Okay.
somewhere along the line, it was decided, which I missed, I guess, that we are going to remove them.
Because back to the stats, I doubt any residents are gonna pay 40 cents a kilowatt to charge when they can plug in at home at 13 cents, unless they don't have a level 2 at their homes.
Yeah.
Right, unless they're going for a long trip that day and they just want to shoot over and
Yeah.
for an hour.
Well, the answer to the question is, do we know who's charging? Yes, we absolutely know who's charging. We have their names. I've never gone through the details trying to figure out where these people live. It wasn't that really, I mean, is that a technology question?
Well, but it's information. If somebody asks and you hear people complaining about it, people are charging at our park, non-residents, right? So that's the complaint.
Well, we know who they are by name, but we don't know where they're from.
Right. I mean, to me, the argument, if I was gonna have an argument with that person, is listen, Celebration itself and Lexington invests a lot of money to bring tourists in. And so do the chargers. They're there to bring tourists in to be able to charge their cars and come visit downtown, right? Which helps with the financing of the businesses, right? So it's part of the whole picture here, right?
But the argument you'll get back from there is then they belong on Lexington property and not Crow.
No, I understand that. But again, my argument back to that would be I've never ever.
No, I'm telling, like,
I've
that's the
I know,
argument.
But I've
that you're
never
gonna
got to
get.
that park ever and not
Yeah.
seen half of it open spots.
Yeah.
So again, I'll say it again, we have parking, we just have a lot of lazy people. Okay. All right. Next.
GoGov and on our videos.
All right, so before we go to videos, I did speak to Greg before the holiday. He said Tom Tucson is owning it from their side. So I said, I want monthly meetings with them to go over, because it still hasn't kicked off live yet,
No.
right? So I'll reach out to Greg and I don't think so, to make sure when that's gonna be handed over. And I told them our team and I went to bat for them and we will stay on top of them, make sure this is successful.
Anybody reviewed the videos?
Yes.
Somebody,
I know you have, but anybody
I
else?
think I looked into a couple of them.
Any thoughts?
I thought they were pretty well done. I mean, I didn't have any major criticisms.
Okay. So then I can move forward with ONR and GoGov.
What do you mean by move forward?
So I
Training.
can use that as a training platform. So when residents come in, we can show them the video or give them a link to the video, or we can sit here and go over it and present it.
So what's the rollout plan? Because we don't start showing videos until we
I know,
actually have
so
it.
I'm not that far ahead. My
Okay.
whole thing is like, okay, I can use it. That's what I'm concerned about.
Okay.
So I don't have to tweak the videos no more. Whatever that rollout plan is, then that gets discussed and then we'll use the tool.
and sometime hopefully this year, both of those will go live for the residents. And like I said a couple
That's the goal.
times, I'm more than happy once or twice a month to do physical training as well. If they want to come in with their phones, and we can do 2 half hours a month or whatever, an hour a month for that.
And do the installs and push it out, so. Okay.
Yeah.
So key card access, we got approved for Gallagher Systems. That includes Artisan Park now, so that was addressed. We are gonna work a schedule. I did speak to Lauren about making a recommendation of getting a small committee involved in the project management process, so that when we roll this out, we know what's going on. You know, and we'll tackle it correctly and send the proper notifications and do all that jazz that needs to be done correctly the first time around. I do have to speak to Scott from Viking Security to get dates and then start that. So I would prefer someone from the tech committee to be involved in that process and as well as some others from
Yeah.
other committees as well.
What
we-
are the stakeholder committees that should drive that? Like who
You should have
cares the most? Technology,
Technology.
because we're thinking, but what are the
technology,
other ones that care?
communications needs to be involved, which meaning there's no committee per se, there's special events, but we should have communications involved.
Well, I think there needs to be a planning session
Right,
on that before everything starts rolling out. Because so many things can fit into that app. Like, and what's the phase? Like, do we want to put like dog park in there? I figure that's gonna go in there at some point, plus the vaccinations. When does that get put in there? The ID cards, what are the ID cards gonna look like, the digital ID cards? Who do we test that first, right? You're gonna get rid of Rec Pro and put Rec Pro in there. Are we gonna put the Arc and Covenant stuff? I mean, so much stuff can go in there. And I think that should all be whiteboarded out with some timelines and priority, which one's first, which one's second, and thoroughly tested before, just don't have like, and just start rolling it out.
What is the ARC stuff that goes in the security?
Well, I just think all the stuff, I mean, if you want to pull up,
well, instead of,
approval process
so
or
just bear in mind,
Yeah.
it's key card access, it's Gallagher.
Right.
We're only putting in there the dog vaccinations and just the hardware installation and making sure that it runs in parallel. After that is that installation is done, the next step is to integrate it to our Milestone platform.
right,
So that way, whenever somebody hits a striker, the camera will take a picture and timestamp that person came in at that time.
right, but
Right.
the pieces to plug into it, sorry to bring up plugins. But the app itself is gonna be able to do all this stuff, right? So an app, everything revolves around the app itself. So I would like to say, like, what do we think? Are those other pieces to it? So those pieces, third phase, fourth phase of it?
The
Which app
integration.
are you talking about?
Owner.
I think you're talking about owner and we're
Owner,
talking
owner,
about key card access.
Oh, and that's right. So
Okay.
that's
Should be in
fine.
the last phase. Once
Gotcha.
we know.
So
that
your
the-
digital IDs are gonna be last as well?
Yeah, it has to be.
Okay, that's
and-
fine. I'm just asking.
and the
I wanna
reason
see what
being
that
is-
looks like.
No, I'm with you now. I was just
Right.
I was confused on where we were, like, I didn't make that connection.
No,
That's-
because
sorry.
when I went around and talked to a lot of people I know in town about it this last 6 months, everybody was super excited. Right? But they weren't more excited about getting into with KeyX, they were more excited about the app and their ID card. Like when we were outside for the foundation thing and all, they want to be able to have their card, and I was talking to Celia about it because we have issues. People going on some of the events that we have, you're only allowed to bring 4 people,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
people just show their card and bring 30 people in, right? So this is
Yeah.
gonna fix that as well.
Right.
But again, that could be phase 5, which is fine, but I think we should, if we get asked, we know what that looks like.
So really, that's what the initial
Right.
committee would be for, is to iron those details out and make sure we have a plan of action going forward. Because the vendor's gonna do what he's gonna do. He's gonna go in and install the can and run the wires and put the strikers. Everything after that, we're gonna have to control. That's
And all that's needs to be installed and
Right.
tested. And
But also, if
Correct.
working
phase
before we start
1,
adding new
if
functionality.
phase 1, say just board members, grand manager, staff, and us have an ID, and that's it.
Yeah, it'll be a small.
And we can
test
go
group.
use it. We're testing also while we're getting out to the room.
It'll be a small test group, because
Yeah.
there's gonna be concerns, like, how are we gonna roll this out if you have 2 different systems? Right? So in my mind, logically would be, well, it's an extract. Once you have that can up and running, you're running it in parallel. What you're doing is saying, I'm gonna copy this database, put all the information on this new system. Once I fire this one up, I test it, it works, I could shut down the old system at that location.
Yeah.
The other ones will still run as we move them along. You're just killing the switch for each old system and bringing up the new one.
Right.
I mean, and that's just, high level. It's really digging in and strategizing and putting all the details.
I just want to identify gaps, issues, and stuff as we're testing it, and not at the end, like you start rolling out in phase 5 and things are broken. It's like, did anybody think about this?
That's what I got.
When we get to the phase of actually how we're gonna implement this physically, that I would volunteer to be involved in that. Trying to imagine how we would have parallel systems. You know, we got the key scan, there's a box there with the PC boards in there, and all the cables come to it. We're not replacing those cables. We're gonna put another system in. At some point, it's gonna be move the cables here.
Mhm.
There'll be no this and that. There'll be no parallel, right? Cables, it's one set of cables coming from all the door latches and all the scanners. So those kind of discussions I'm volunteering to be a part of, so that we can figure out exactly how we're gonna do this, because there will be a day when a person walks up and he presents his badge or his card, that he's gonna be accessing the new system. Our goal is to make that so that he doesn't even know this.
That's the goal. That's exactly it.
Completely transparent to him.
Mhm.
It will be compatible with the existing RFIDs, right? That was the fundamental premise that we started with. But it'll have enhanced capability with RF, with the NFC, facial recognition if we want to have second two-factor authentication, you know, whatever. But the first part of it is the guy walks up to a door and he scans, it has to work.
Right.
So that's the part, it's that part that I would like to be.
Okay.
Offered.
Yes, sir.
I know we don't have it on the list, but, and I missed the last board meeting. Anything with the video conferencing and this building and anything going on with that?
So far, systems have been working without a hitch ever since we replaced the camera and did the firmware updates. Jared, you can attest to it. It's been good. We still got that Polycom system working. And it works fine. It does all the zooming stuff. So if you watch the board meetings, you'll see that it'll do its thing. I don't know what's gonna happen with the building yet. To invest the money on it, on the equipment, to then run new wires, and it just doesn't make sense. And I think Krista brought it up initially. It makes perfect sense.
And the conversation about going to Teams Live is that.
That's that. And I believe, Breck, you confirmed that Teams Live is being phased out.
What I read was that Teams Live, I think, was going to be phased out by the end of the year, I think. So they're transitioning to a different offering. It's still within Teams. It just behaves a little differently. I was kind of digging into it, trying to learn a bit more, but I ran into I guess, roadblock being that I needed some kind of access to kind of.
You need access to it?
Yeah, because it'll have something, because I mean.
Yeah,
company
so
makes that,
there's,
like, yeah.
there is a solution that offers a lot of the same features and it sounds like it works better. It is technically a different product
Oh,
offering
different,
within. So,
Well, I'm gonna personally volunteer Bill next month. If I get my hands on the first Apple Vision Pro, we want to test it on a board meeting. It'll be fun. And going on, the stick room is still, what's going on with the bench?
So stick room is not being used.
Is it storage?
I gotta go check.
So I'd like to do a training in there if we can.
I
get
was
like
just
10
in there
people. You
with
just
the
in?
master planning tour. I don't know, there's just a bunch of random stuff in there.
Some stuff was taken out, right? The monitors.
There was one was
It's still there.
Monitor's still there.
Yeah, the monitor, like, it's
These-
like this thing, yeah, on the wall. Then there's just a bunch of other random things. Most of, there's a lot of rooms that are
They were
really
used as
useful
storage.
rooms that are just being used
Yeah,
as storage.
Yeah, and that was during the time when we had shut down,
Right.
Mhm.
and we weren't.
Because we get 10 people in there for a little training session. I mean, people are more apt to ask questions in a room like that rather than sitting around
In
here.
the stick room?
Yeah.
No, it's
8.
I'd say about 6 at the most, but that room is not.
It'd work well for like you were talking about, like an office hour type situation.
I know it was
People
designed for
like,
that. I'm not talking about 10 smelly teenagers. I'm-
yeah. Middle schoolers.
Hey, could you look into what's happening with the Wi-Fi in here? You remember, I came to a board meeting one time, I could not get on the Wi-Fi
And it was the SSL certificate,
Okay,
so we
so you
have,
fixed it, all right. As I sit here today,
I can't get on.
can't get on.
yeah, so I gave Andy the SSL certificate to run it inside of the Ubiquity. He hasn't done it yet, so he's working.
Okay,
He has to configure it on his end and it should be up there.
does he knows what?
Yeah, he knows.
Okay.
Do we have Wi-Fi at Island Village?
Yes, we do.
So since we're not wanting to delay the meeting, but can we return to the discussion that we started before the meeting actually started to talk about whether or not it would make sense to have security cameras at places like the amphitheater field? Given the, you know, what just happened this last weekend, or do we think this is a one-off and it's not gonna happen again and therefore we'll, you know, roll the dice?
Well, you have multiple instances. You have what happened at the
Yeah.
you have what happened at the amphitheater, you have what happened here at Town Hall, and then you had Spring Park. So here is
Spring Park,
Spring Park.
There's one over like by Banks Rose and Jeter Bend, Central Park,
So,
and then Island Village.
also, so then everything got hit,
Yeah.
basically. Yeah, so I think we should discuss it and should bring it up. There are solutions that Jeffrey Webb is looking into.
Who's Jeffrey Webb?
He's the general manager for the new camp.
So the
So
Protect do sell your stuff too?
he does it. The issue here is distance, right?
Yeah.
Not all the locations where we're looking to put it is equipped with our technology or.
Because, you know, private sale, like I said before, goes
So-
over a mile. You can connect.
There might be some issues that might present themselves in that case where we would have to get those services first in order to get it. Or like Bill said,
Yeah.
you know, microwave. But yeah, we can definitely look into it. Like I said, I want to replace the cameras that are here. Because they're not catching anything. On Saturday night, I got called. And I went to look at the camera. I see the pickup truck, but I can't see the plates. And it's all fuzzy and
Are we using Ubiquity security systems or?
no, we're using Milestone is our security software platform. But the cameras they were using in some locations is the old Hikvision cameras. And in some of our locations is Axis cameras.
Cause we use Ubiquity solutions, right? For a lot of our.
For our
networking.
for our Wi-Fi.
So they have, I know my friend uses a lot of this. They have like a security solution where they have recording solutions and they actually have the cameras for your house or for a building. And there's one in there that's got some AI like license plate recognition technology built into it. So
Is it on the hardware on the camera itself or is it on the actual?
Both. It's on.
both, yeah.
I
Because
have,
we don't want to get rid of
I have
Milestone.
them.
The idea is to keep Milestone and if we can leverage that hardware, then perfect.
But why are we committed to that milestone?
Be-
Is it what, why are we committed to?
From what I understand, a lot of money was spent on Milestone. We have a subscription model with them and we have them in all our locations.
Yeah, I don't think, you don't underestimate Milestone. It's a.
That's
it's
an
one of the
enterprise
major-
level solution. That's
it is-
not a,
Yeah, it's a very top tier security platform that's used everywhere. I mean,
So
I'm new
they
to it
should have
myself.
Yeah.
They should
They
have
do.
cameras that does.
They do. Axis makes cameras that can do anything that we want them to do, and they have object analytics that runs on the camera itself, or we could run it in the Milestone server if we wanted to, if we had CPU availability. At Artisan Park, we run all of the analytics on the cameras so that we don't bog down the server, and the server's already running at like 60% CPU. So we don't want to put additional analytic unless we want to put another server in there. The servers are very expensive. So we don't want to buy another server. So we use Axis cameras and all the analytics is right there. We can have any resolution we want. Axis makes premier government cameras. We can, but if we want to spend $800, which is what we spend at Artisan Park, it's fine. We can spend $3,000 and you know, go and look at the expiration date on the.
See, I would ask the question, we can, like you said, you can spend as much as you want on the technology.
Yeah.
The why behind it is to catch the people that are perpetrating the crimes, right?
Mhm.
If you catch them, what then happens? If nothing happens, right, $50,000 worth of damage we have to eat. If we spend 25,000 to fix that, we catch them, what then happens? Then they get the money back from them, insurance, police, I mean, what's the outcome? You can spend all that money, but what are you fixing?
So
Well, that's a decision for somebody else to make.
But if we're investing in if we're approving something for technology, again, you can spend all you want on something, but what's that gonna accomplish? I mean, do we know, like for all damage now, that insurance cover that? We just eat it out of normal funds, or if we had the license plate number and we called Osceola County Sheriff, would we be able to sue them? I mean, is it worth legal fees to go after them?
I'm not sure what that is, but I can tell you that Osceola County called me last week, not this weekend, but the week before, for the break-in here. And we gave them the information, and then they gave me their contact. And it's so funny because they brought up the same solution we were looking at it 8 months ago, which did all that stuff and directly connected our systems to the.
Yeah, because I know one example, I have a couple of friends that, like dumpsters, people with cameras and dumpsters, people are dumping it, but you catch somebody, but so what, right? You call it, all right, so here's a picture of somebody dumping in your dumpster, there's nothing you can do, right? So why spend 20,000 on a camera over a dumpster if you can't do anything anyway? Let's get some German shepherds to just tie them up.
It's a good point. I'll speak to Lauren about it and see what.
Right, if it's something that's asked for, I mean, we know there's solutions out there and we can put together a proposal. It's a matter of if it's something that
We can
we
definitely
want,
do
that
this.
somebody wants us to pursue, or do we actively, do we proactively pursue what it would take, and then so people know what it takes? It's not our decision to decide whether or not it gets put up, but we could recommend, like, this is how you would, if you wanted to do that, if you wanted something where we could see all the license
Right.
plates, blah, 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 this is what it would cost you and this is what we would do.
Right.
But
I just
that's
don't want our
kind of where
team
we're
spending
at.
tons of cycles doing all that research and find out. say,
Yeah.
Why do you even do this work for this thing?
Exactly. Cause I think they know, they know the car. I think they know the car, cause like so many people have cameras like everywhere. Oh, I tell my kid all the time, don't do something stupid. There's cameras everywhere. Everyone has cameras. Don't think you're gonna get away with anything.
Yeah, but here they are, they're getting away with it.
I knew the kids that went to the movie theater.
Yeah.
Not my kid.
Yeah, Unify Solution is pretty cheap. Their 4K AI cameras, $499. The DVR system is $499. You want 3 months of recording, total cost is under $1,000. I mean, the Ubiquity stuff's amazing.
That's great.
It works. I've got the networking stuff at the house, but it's not the other stuff. And this thing does include the AI license plate reading. But we have to get 3 quotes. Just put it out there.
How if it's $1,000?
There you go.
10,000.
So
What we do is buy a camera a month and
So speaking of that, so Jared's here. So 2 months ago, I thought your questions were very fair. I really did. I went back to him and I said, I thought they were very fair. I didn't think about it. It's just that this was supposed to be our preferred vendor. They didn't work before. So, but again, I appreciate your question. Him and I talked numerous times after, and I just want to make sure we're doing the right thing. So what was the final conclusion? That because they're a preferred vendor?
I mean, outside of that, there was some confusion as to what the process was. and
Yeah.
Dealing with, we were put to charge to analyze
The
the
tech-
product, the technology. I wasn't put to task to verify the vendor.
Yeah.
You know, if we already have a vendor that works on it, we're leveraging their expertise.
But for
We're
going
we're
forward,
comparing products. We're not comparing.
right, but for going forward, how do we address that?
So-
We have to
so-
get the service contract as well approved?
So we would have to look at the vendors and then scope out the products going forward. The only thing is we cannot share that information. If we get it from, that information from vendor A, we cannot share that with vendor B.
I mean, my analogy, Jared, to him was that if we've been buying trucks from Starling Chevy for years, we're buying a new truck. We go get a price from Starling, we go over to Cocoa Beach, and we'll go up to Orlando, we get 3 prices. And they're all, and we like to, but we know Starling's close, they'll come, so that's our preferred service. I didn't know if just the price of the truck matters or actually.
My arguments during that meeting were simply for my responsibility to
Yeah.
hold us accountable to our
Yeah.
governing documents, and Grand Maris accountable for their contract. I was only doing that.
No, and I loved it.
Arguing
I'm glad that you
process.
asked. I just want to know what it is
Because
myself.
if someone comes and says, we did this, we got these 3 bids, but you should go with the one that's most expensive, and here's why, I would say yes to that. It's not about the price, it's about,
Correct.
did we do a due diligence of looking at different places, and the high one is the right one because of, because
Right.
they're close, and the other 2 are 4 hours away. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah, no, that's perfect. I agree with that.
but all at my only, and I hope that wasn't offensive to anyone.
No,
because
no,
I've argued
it just took me off guard a little bit. I just wasn't expecting.
Yeah, no, not at all. I mean, I was in agreement. I was just confused as to what we were put to task. Are we gonna look at the vendor as well? If I wasn't told to look at the vendor, I was told, check out the products and let's look at a solution and replace.
And the vendor did a great job when they presented and did demonstrations. They brought a different sales rep each time too. So they were actually treating it separately as well, not just one sales rep. So they were actually competing against themselves too with 3 different proposals from the same company.
If the question was the wiring company, then I would have said, okay, then I'll get 3 different wiring companies to figure out who's.
They're a reseller.
Yeah, so.
Okay. I'm pretty good at getting our meetings to handle a little bit. Does anybody else have any topics they'd like to bring up? Anil?
All good, my friend.
Any-
Thank you.
All good?
Yep.
Tom? Good. Good. Right. Bill? Do I have a second to adjourn?
And
Not record.